Just as the sun peaks over the horizon to dimly light the fields of California's Central Valley, as many as 400,000 men and women have already begun their day. They most likely traveled in darkness dozens of miles from their homes to reach their destination. California's rich agricultural industry depends on the ability of these workers to safely and consistently arrive on time as often as 7 days a week. Fertile fields of various crops and orchards span miles and miles of area not serviced by any form of public transportation. Working hard but earning little, few farm workers operate their own vehicle. But that's no longer a problem, thanks to the introduction of the Agricultural Industries Transportation Services Program, known as AITS.
I get asked often, what's unique about our project? What's unique is it's the only one of its kind in the United States. And it's the only project like this that's been blessed by the Federal Department of Labor. They've actually given us a letter stating our project under the operating parameters we have now is legal. And as such, it has the potential to do a lot of people a lot of good.
I've been driving on the program AITS about 3 years. And that's wonderful because I'm able to take the people that they don't have vehicles to go to work.
The road to success for AITS began long before its kickoff celebration in April of 2002. At times, the journey seemed destined for failure. And yet, after traveling miles and miles of difficult terrain, this innovative transportation program has arrived.
My involvement with AITS goes back to about 5 years ago when Governor Gray Davis was interested in addressing the needs of farm labor transportation.
When Congressman Dooley first obtained some federal funds for this program, I was very supportive.
I thought it was a brilliant idea, but it took some doing to get people convinced.
As with many brilliant ideas, a heralding event sparked the vision for AITS, but the concept took time to ignite. On August 9, 1999, 13 farm workers died in a tragic accident involving an unsafe van with wooden benches in place of factory-installed seats. At that time, farm labor vehicles were often modified to accommodate as many riders as possible. Following the accident, the California State Department of Transportation convened a public hearing in Fresno to gather information from as many sources as possible to determine a strategy for preventing future accidents.
As an advocate for farm workers in California, we're constantly faced with challenges, particularly with the farm worker community.
We need stability in our communities, we need stability in our workforce, and having adequate transportation is a very important part of that.
The AITS project had the simple goal of providing qualified farm workers with the means to transport themselves and others to work in a shared ride van pool vehicle.
Our van pools under the federal law are basically a carpool. And under a carpool, everybody can jointly put their money into the kitty, and it's called a carpool. The driver does not pay anything. The driver, because he's doing in-kind services, getting up in the morning, taking to work, doesn't have to pay. But everybody else pays a proportional share, and that carpool arrangement's legal.
As a farmer, I feel really confident and not afraid of breaking the law or allowing one of my employees looking the other way that they're breaking the law in transporting these people.
All of a sudden, that employee now, because of a safe, reliable form of transportation that may not have been able to afford that 40 or 50-minute commute, can now make that commute and stay gainfully employed.
It's really given farm worker women the opportunity to come out of the traditional roles in agriculture, where they're not only the pickers in the fields, but they're also taking the ownership of establishing their own van pools and taking control of situations which otherwise might compromise their own personal safety and well-being. It's really exciting as an advocate that's constantly trying to champion the rights of farm worker women.
The workers don't have to worry about getting to work. They have reliable transportation. Now, should that van for some reason not start in the morning and they give me a call at 5 or 4 in the morning, I'm out there with a replacement van. So they know they're going to get to work. They know that they're going to arrive there safely. They know that I'm not going to give them a van that's not in good condition. It's in good condition.
I was spending a lot of money on my own car, and sometimes, I have a problem if something happens and then I get stranded on the road. With the van, that's easy because if something happens, I just call to the office and they take me another one.
Many people call the farm laborers unskilled, but they are very skilled. They just have a different level of skills. It takes a high level of skill to be able to pick oranges, to be able to work in organic carrots, to be able to pick tomatoes. The problem is it's not a high-paying job. And so for a family unit that only has one vehicle, AITS allows that second individual or someone else in that family unit to work.
I believe that AITS or any sort of farm worker transportation is a good value because it's supporting a major industry in California. We do this all the time, that we have companies coming in and people go, you know what, this is such a great company, let's go and build them a sewer line or let's build them a freeway interchange to go into their business. I don't see this as any different except that this is a business that goes all throughout the state and it keeps moving. So instead of having a sewer line or a road or new electrical lines going in, what you're doing is you're moving public transportation to meet the needs.
AITS actually is a public transit vehicle that gets them where they're going in a cost-effective manner with drivers that volunteer in a van that's always filled, and if the van's not working, it's parked. In comparison to other more traditional bus services, it's cost-effective, it works, and it basically is a good return for the dollars invested.
We were trying to figure out something that we could transport our workers to our farm or during the working day that would be safe for the employees as well as be economically feasible for me because of the high cost of insurance. That they fit the bill just perfectly.
The AITS program is really a great option to create a healthier environment because it's cutting down a lot of the pollution, especially here in the Central Valley where we have some of the poorest air quality.
Here in the San Joaquin Valley, 1 out of 3 families has a family member with a respiratory ailment. 1 out of 6 children in the valley suffers from asthma.
It's important to note that the vehicles that Ron has been purchasing have all been considered low-emission vehicles operating on unleaded fuels, and as such, they are considered by the California Air Resources Board to be energy efficient and low in pollution qualities. So as we see more and more people, farm laborers, flock to these van pool programs, we can show that they are pulling individuals out of their own cars going to and from the sites and reducing those emissions from single occupancy vehicles and having a much lighter footprint on our environment.
We go out of our way to ensure safety. The vehicles are inspected by the CHP as a courtesy inspection. Our staff every 2 months looks at the vehicles. We actually jump in the vehicles and do a ride-along where we see who's in the vehicle, what they're paying. Everything has a GPS. We know where it goes. We know how fast it goes. And with that and the ability to service the vehicle remotely, we're on top of it.
You can have $1 million insurance policy on an accident, but that's not going to bring a life back. This way, we try to be as careful as we can because we do monitor the vans. They're monitored for speed to make sure that they're not speeding. And so if they do speed, they get a warning that, you know what, you're speeding.
If someone reported the vehicles were being used inappropriately or the workers were stopping at a liquor store and purchasing liquor and possibly drinking that, he had the ability that when the vehicle was stopped to be able to turn off that vehicle and go out and pick it up to save the integrity of the program.
There really isn't anything that gets by us that we don't catch. That's demonstrated by our insurance rate. Our insurance started out at $4,000 per year per vehicle. It's down to $900 now. We're going 4 million miles a year.
I participated in one of his ride-alongs early in the morning out to the Avenal area with a group of farm workers from the city of Huron. And I was impressed that as they arrived at one of the local gas stations at 4 o'clock in the morning, they would line up with vehicle operators that they were familiar with That operator knew where they needed to go that day, and they took 15 people out to that farm site and were ready to work when that farmer wanted to see them working at 6 a.m. It was a very congenial ride with those individuals. None of them felt threatened, which is a problem with a lot of the contractors. All of us involved in that experience that day were impressed as to how each of our questions and thoughts were well thought out by Ron and detailed in his notebook with forms and procedures that left no question as to how this could work in other locations. We were lucky enough that day to have his attorney with us, and he too had heard and watched this whole program evolve, but he wasn't aware of just how meticulous all of the details had been worked out.
To schedule a ride-along and receive a notebook of your own, please contact the AITS office. We can also provide you with an in-depth historical document detailing the history of the AITS project.
We have everything. It's air conditioning, seat belts, everything. You know, we can't complain, and that's good.
To learn how to replicate this successful transportation program designed especially for farm workers, call the AITS office toll-free at 866-655-5444.